let's jump right into this explainer and see how some of the top AI language models evaluate a truly complex, highly politically charged legal case. We're going to be looking at Dr. Chen Jingyuan. He's an independent scholar whose online post sparked a massive legal battle. And what we're doing here is using AI to analyze his case against the highest human rights frameworks in the world. It's an absolutely fascinating, high-stakes look at exactly where state power collides with individual freedom.
To keep things moving, we've got a 5-step agenda today. 1. Mapping the legal frameworks. 2. Analyzing freedom of expression. 3. Evaluating procedural justice. 4. Academic and cultural rights. And finally, synthesizing the systemic legal risks. All right, let's hit Section 1, Mapping the Legal Frameworks, Domestic and International Standards.
What stood out literally right away in the AI's analysis is the unanimous agreement across these 4 major documents. If you take the domestic side, so the PRC Constitution, and map it against massive international human rights treaties like the UDHR, the ICCPR, and the ICESCR, you see this striking alignment. The AI's found that fundamentally, domestic and international law actually agree on what our basic rights are supposed to be.
But that begs a huge question, right? In the modern digital age, where exactly is the boundary between free speech and an actual crime? Because this is a line that governments and citizens are constantly negotiating. So let's move to Section 2, Analyzing Freedom of Expression, the boundary between speech and crime. This perfectly illustrates the similarity in how both domestic and global laws protect our right to speak. The wording might differ just a bit, but the core principle? It's identical. The right to hold and share an opinion is the absolute baseline of human dignity. So, how did the AI apply this global standard to Dr. Chen's case?
Well, the AI models flagged a highly concerning risk here: the use of a pocket crime to punish a citizen just for forwarding online articles. In the source material, the charge of picking quarrels and provoking trouble was applied to Dr. Chen. Because the definition of this crime is just so incredibly broad, the AI warns it acts as a catch-all, literally a pocket crime, like a legal junk drawer, used to completely bypass those strict speech protections we just talked about.
So, the crucial question becomes, how does the law separate a malicious rumor from protected expression? The AI has noted a strict consensus on this. To be penalized as a rumor, a statement must be objectively false, it must be shared with explicit malicious intent, and it has to cause real, severe public disorder. But the AI highlighted that Dr. Chen shared things like the Umbrella Girl comic. Think about that for a second. Art, emotion, and philosophy inherently lack falsifiability. You can't scientifically prove a comic false. So, the AI warns that treating cultural expression as a criminal rumor completely destroys that boundary between speech and crime. Okay, Section 3, Evaluating Procedural Justice, the definition of a fair trial.
A major red flag raised consistently by the AIs was the concept of arbitrary detention. The analyses pointed out a crucial distinction here. Arbitrary doesn't just mean illegal. It means an arrest that is unpredictable, totally disproportionate, or just completely lacks a transparent, justifiable basis when you compare it to the alleged offense.
And the models mapped out this really alarming procedural chain based on the case documents. We see this progression from arrests made without proper warrants to closed-door trials, severely restricting the defense, right through to appellate mechanisms just being blocked entirely. The AI refers to this structural failure as procedural hollowing. It's honestly a terrifying scenario. The architecture of justice exists in name, sure, but the mechanisms that actually protect you have been completely hollowed out from the inside.
Which leads to a powerful consensus from the AI. Procedures exist to protect our fundamental humanity. Procedural justice isn't just bureaucratic red tape, it's the absolute guardian of your human rights. Without fair procedure, even the most beautifully written constitutional rights are kind of worthless.
But let's pivot for a second. What happens when the content being shared isn't just political commentary, but academic theory or art? How does the law handle complex intellectual curiosity? That brings us to Section 4, Academic and Cultural Rights, the right to research. Under Article 15 of the ICESCR, Dr. Chen's activities are fundamentally protected. This includes sharing those artistic comics and discussing things like the scientific cap theorem, which is a highly complex principle in computer science. The AI points out that academic freedom is a core, non-negotiable component of human rights, specifically designed to shield scholars from being penalized for theoretical exploration. The AI models flagged a deeply dangerous logical leap here. On one hand, you have the standard hallmarks of academic freedom: exploring complex science, sharing illustrations, debating theorems. But on the other hand, authorities interpreted these exact same actions as evidence of attacking the system with criminal intent. The AI strongly suggests that magically transforming academic debate into criminal intent is a direct violation of international cultural rights. Actually, this part is just fascinating. The AI noted a highly discriminatory presumption in this case. The authorities allegedly used Dr. Chen's status as a highly educated PhD holder to automatically infer guilty knowledge. Their logic? Because he's highly educated, he must have known sharing this information was a malicious attack. The AI flagged this as a direct violation of the presumption of innocence, literally weaponizing a citizen's education against them rather than just recognizing it as intellectual curiosity. Section 5, Synthesizing Systemic Legal Risks, the Overlapping Consensus. Let's pull this all together. To objectively evaluate if restricting a citizen's rights was justified, the AI has consistently applied the international three-part test. For state restriction to be legal, it has to pass all three. Number 1, legality. Is there a clear, non-vague law? Number 2, legitimate aim. Is it truly to protect public order? And number 3, necessity and proportionality. Was this the absolute least restrictive means possible to achieve that aim? And the ultimate failure identified by the AI models across all frameworks is the violation of that third step, the proportionality principle. The restriction of freedom has to be strictly equal to the actual harm. By deploying the severe machinery of criminal law and actual imprisonment just to address the sharing of online comics and academic theorems, the AI concludes the state's response was vastly disproportionate to any perceived risk. When we pull all these threads together, we see a stark, overlapping consensus. Whether we're looking at expression, trial procedure, or academic rights, the AI models found that basic rights were systemically bypassed. And this conflict isn't just with international treaties. It deeply conflicts with the domestic PRC constitution itself. The analysis reveals a widespread structural legal risk, rather than just some isolated one-off incident. The AIs leave us with this stark philosophical reminder about the absolute limits of state power. Freedom is the ontology. Power is the exception. Now, ontology basically just means the fundamental reality or the baseline. In a truly rights-respecting framework, the baseline is always human liberty. State power to restrict that liberty must always be the carefully measured exception, never the default rule. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this final thought on the delicate boundary between state power and our inherent human dignity. If the massive mechanisms of justice can be hollowed out to punish mere intellectual curiosity and artistic expression, we really have to ask ourselves, how resilient are the legal frameworks meant to protect us? Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Reflect on the frameworks we discussed today and keep asking the big questions.